Alright, Pedantic Physics Rant, number 12,236. You didn't know I had them numbered, did you? So, it's just like some things that just don't make any sense to me. So, two objects exist in a vacuum are moving towards each other. It's not even about that. It's like you're telling me if I begin on Earth and shoot a rocket, I start moving away, I start moving in relation to Earth, I begin to slow down. Well, let's just say I shoot in the straight direction. I don't do anything to mess myself, don't change my state at all. But I am changing reference frames in relation to Earth. My world clock begins to slow down in relation to Earth. Now, what we perceive is whatever, but our world clock slows down. Well, my world clock would, because I'm in a spaceship. His does not. That's just what you're saying. But why? And then if I stopped, right, and started to share reference frames with Earth, I would be missing time. During that interim, who is to say that Earth wasn't the thing that was moving in the first place? The only difference between me and Earth during that time is that I changed my reference frame by doing something. Now, you get two bodies, right? You get A, B. You got A, you got B, right? And they're moving towards each other. Now, which one's moving towards which? I don't know. That's the whole point. Now, this is how you'd figure that out. Now, if A and B slow down in relationship to each other, and they slow down at the same time and at the same rate, and then they touch, what are the world clocks going to say? Now, if one was actually moving slower than the other the whole time, or if one was actually moving in relation to the other the whole time, and the other one wasn't actually moving, it would have a slower world clock. Now, Lorenz says to solve this, and I always see that little chart. I still can't figure that out. I can slide it around. It's an idiot. Can't figure it out. But it'd be like, if I blast off a spaceship, went all the way out there, right? And then let's just say I just existed out there. Like, I existed out there. And then I started to come back in that spaceship, right? And let's say the world had rockets, and the world started to match my speed. Now, it would be as if the world was coming towards me, and the world was just slowing down to just touch my spaceship. So the world would land on my spaceship. What would our world clock say? Would my spaceship's world clock be slower or faster than the world's world clock? Now, if my spaceship's world clock is slower than the world's, I'd be the one that was moving the entire time, and the world just started moving. Does that make sense? Like, this is where it doesn't match up. I'm thinking initial frame. Like, it has to have an initial frame. Like, why does Lorenz feel like it works when everything starts off as being stationary with each other, but if you start off with frames that are in constant motion with each other, Like, why does it stop working? Why do I feel it stops working? And like, it stops working for that reason. Like, who is to say that you weren't moving the entire time? Like, why am I the person with the slower world clock all of a sudden, as compared to everything else around me? The universe was moving, and I was stationary. I've always been stationary. And the universe is like, no, no, you haven't. But it makes sense because they all say all these like yo-yo stuff, and you're gonna perceive this and perceive that, and time's gonna speed up and slow down. You know, you stay all the good to your destination, and you get to your journey, and then you start to slow down. You know, and then you're gonna see time speed up and blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, if you're here in space in relationship to everything, like those things are constantly going to be bombarding you. You're gonna be constantly bombarded with radio waves and stuff like that, and everything's gonna know where you are in relation to everything else. Which makes me think the universe is relatively stagnant or relatively stationary as compared to everything else in the universe. Like there's this force that is saying you have an initial frame. Because if I start off with an initial frame, like everything has a starting position, and then I try to change it around and do all that, then I understand how everything slows down and speeds up and all that other stuff. All of a sudden it works with me. But without an initial frame, and they tell me you don't need an initial frame with Lorentz, it still works. But like the thought experiment, where you get two bodies that exist in some velocity moving towards each other. Now I know what they're going to observe, but when they start sharing a frame together, what do the world clocks say? I'll say it again. When they start sharing a frame together, what do their world clocks say? Who was to say I was moving? And the only thing that's to say I was moving was the fact that when I slow down and share your frame, my world clock is different from yours. Now, even if I was that spaceship and I flew out there, and then I flew back and I started flying back towards Earth, and Earth started accelerating in the direction in which I was heading to like match my speed and slow down and match my speed to the point where it just like touches my spaceship, you know, then I would share its frame all of a sudden. But what would his clock say? Would his clock say it was the one that was always moving? Would it have a slower world clock as compared to mine because it decided to match and accelerate to my velocity and match my speed? No, right? The spaceship would still have the slower world clock, right? Is that what you're telling me? In which case, initial frame. I changed my state of reference. In which case, there's stuff in there's something in the universe that is forcing everything to have an initial frame. And now all of a sudden, when I think initial frame, all of a sudden Lorenz works. Without initial frame, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Because my world clock is different from yours. If I change my frame of reference as compared to everything in the relationship, my world clock is different. I can't displace time. I can't shoot in a rocket and shoot fuel out my backside to get me moving in a direction without my world clock changing. My world clock's going to be different from everything else. It's going to be observed to be different as soon as somebody observes my world clock. And they're going to be like, you're the thing that is moving because your world clock is different as compared to everything that you're in relation to. I mean, I don't think we're moving that fast as compared to most things. I think most things we're in orbit of the sun. Jupiter's not moving fast; it's moving slower than us. Everything out there, and that's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. There's my pedantic physics rant.